review was not too bad based on kind of how we've reviewed thus far. The only question that some of you had issues on, I had about 3 or 4 people ask for number 13. So we're going to go over 13. And then I'm also going to give you some hints on the test. So if you felt okay with 13, just fast forward until you see these tips. But if you needed help with 13, here's how we do it. Okay? So to start with, we are going to try to remember that that guy right there does not mean this. Okay? That's a no-no. Because it's a binomial, we cannot just distribute the squared in, okay? Mr. Bowler, the AP Calc teacher, says that's something that students do all the time. Even, the best and brightest of the bunch still makes that mistake. So we want to really make sure that we remember that this is really what squared means. Squared means we're going to times the binomial to itself. Okay? And then I'm going to leave the denominator, and I'm going to bring down the other side. Sorry, running out of room. Okay. So we're going to do FOIL. All right. So that's what I did here. So I'm going to do first times first. So that'll give me sine squared x. I'm going to do the outer 2. So that'll give me sine x cosine x. You could put a dot between them for multiplication if you want to. I'm not going to. Then I'm going to do the same thing here, which will be cosine x sine x. And then the last one will be cosine times cosine. Okay, now I'm running out of room just because I write big, so I don't have the right side, but y'all know that we need to continue to bring that right side down. All right, so I want to point out 2 things here. The first thing is this term here and this term here. So notice this is one whole term, this is one whole term, because, they're stuck together with multiplication, not addition. So what you have in this numerator, you have 4 terms, okay? They're separated with pluses and minuses. Okay, so these 2 middle terms, even though they're backwards of each other, like one is sine, then cosine, the other one's cosine, then sine, they are the same, okay? Which means, multiplication is commutative. A times B is the same as B times A, all right? That's what this is saying right here, okay? So they're equivalent. So what that means is we can add like terms, okay? Well, how many of those are there? Well, there are 2 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and put those together. And you could put them in whichever order you want. I typically just always put sine first, but it really makes no difference, okay? Then the other thing I want to point out is I'm going to rearrange the order and put these 2 guys beside each other, okay? Now, those are still 2 terms. So basically this is kind of what I did in the review. Honestly, I should have pulled it up from the website, and I didn't because I don't remember exactly the order I wrote it. But these 2 in orange right here, that is an identity, okay? So that is the Pythagorean identity. And what do we know about sine squared plus cosine squared? It equals 1, all right? So now we can keep going. And I'm going to leave 2 sine x cosine x plus, and now 1. Now I have to put 1 because there's a plus, right? If it were multiplication, I wouldn't have to put the plus. And then over sine of x. And now I'm going to kind of look to what we're trying to get, or what we're trying to simplify to. And so y'all know one of the common themes that we've talked about is splitting the fraction. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. So that means we're going to put sine up under here and up under there. So we're going to go 2 sine of x cosine of x over sine. And we can do that if there's a binomial, which there are. There's 1 term here and 1 term here. So we can do it if there's a binomial or more over a monomial. And then we're almost done. Okay, and of course I'm running out of room. I wrote too big. Let's slide all this stuff up some. Okay, so now do you see this can cross out? So we're left with 2 cosine x plus, and then nothing happens here, but 1 over sine x is cosecant x. And then we're done. Now, they're in opposite orders, but you could easily flip them around. It's because that's not multiplication. Addition is commutative, which means a plus b equals b plus a. Okay? So there were some big themes. The first kind of theme that we've talked about in class was FOIL. Okay? That's what you had to do. The hardest thing about this problem was seeing that you had to then match this guy up with this one. Even though they were really far apart in the problem, they match up to equal just this one right here. And that's because of the Pythagorean identity. And then you also have to notice that this term here and this term here are like terms. So we can make 2 of them. Okay? And then the second big theme is to split the fraction. So we split and we're able to cross out a sign, which left us no denominator. And then this fraction turned into one of our reciprocal identities, so no fraction left. I hope that helps. All right. I do not want you to think that that would be a common type of problem. That would be like a challenge question or perhaps a bonus, which I'm just going to go ahead and be honest with you. With Google Forms, that's how we're going to do our test. I mean, sure, there is a way. I don't know it yet. I just got finished making your test, and it's all multiple choice. So really, you're just going to have to be able to kind of pick out the correct things. And this one is very difficult to make up with multiple choice. So you're not going to have to worry about that one. All right. If you felt pretty good with the rest of the review, you should be good. Okay. The only thing about the test is these couple of things. All right. So fully simplify. So like, do not leave this. Okay. The square root of 50 can simplify. That's just an example. Okay. That's one example. The other big thing that we sometimes messed up on is the quadrant. Okay. So remember to make sure you read the question carefully about knowing, is it in quadrant 2, quadrant 1, quadrant 3, etc. And then there are a couple places you want to check your signs. Okay. So first thing is, ooh, that makes it darker. That's pretty. Totally did not know it did that. So for instance, if you have 1 minus a negative 4/5, okay, make sure you have that as a plus. All right, that's 1. If you have this, remember that that is 1 minus 4/5. That's just one example, or excuse me, I guess 2 examples. The other thing is, do you remember there are some problems that require a plus or minus out front with the square root? I'm not going to be specific because I want you to go back and look. You need to know when you use that minus. Okay, that's going to be important because that would be a difference between like an A and a B answer choice. Okay, then the last thing I want to talk about is like the way I worded it. Most of these I was able to screenshot from a document I have, but some of the fonts messed up, and so I had to like type out the roots. And so I just want you to understand when it says this is what I mean. Okay. So if I say 7 root 2 over 10, that's how it should look. Okay. Now it's going to look like this on the test, not this. Okay. There's on number 17, it's like, I'm just giving you one example, but like all of the answers are going to follow that way. And then for number 18, this one, oh my gosh, I tried so long to try to get it to type out correctly and I could not. So I just want you to understand when it's worded this way, this is the way I want you to write it and then draw your picture. Okay. So there are 18 questions on the test. Take your time. It really is not that long, but there are a few problems where, a sign issue will mess you up. Okay, so just take your time, do your best. That's the only assignment you have for today. All right, so do your very, very best, and tomorrow we start something new. Yay. You guys have been doing fantastic, by the way. I'm so proud of you. When I have like 14 people responding, that's well over 2/3 of the class, so I guess like a quarter of the class. That makes 3/4 of the class, excuse me. It makes me really happy that most of y'all are putting forth, your best effort here, and I can't ask for more than that. So just do your best, and you should get your grade immediately after you're done. All right. Good luck. I miss you guys.